Hello, fire signs, and welcome in. So, this is going to be your reading for the second half of March. We're going to be taking a look at the energy within all of the fire signs, and then I'll pull a couple of cards for each individual sign. So, you can see in the description box below where that is. There's also going to be some additional special readings over the next week or two, especially as we get into eclipse season. So as the eclipses come up, I'll be doing some special readings. So make sure you hit the subscribe and notification bell so that way you can be alerted as to when those new videos go ahead and post. So let's take a look, and we'll start with our usual, where we take a look at what crystal the universe is recommending that you work with. And as I shuffle here, some of the major things that are happening on the 19th, we have the sun entering Aries. And so that's going to be a lot of that energy, drive, enthusiasm, like you're motivated to take action. So that's on the 19th. So especially true for those of you who are Aries who are listening. All right. So this is Ascended Master, Truth, Self-Worth, and Up-Leveling. So this one didn't have a specific crystal that goes with it, so I'll pull one more and see if an actual crystal one comes out. Nope, Elemental Balance. So nothing in particular, just work with whatever crystal is your favorite. But then Elemental Balance, about harmony, centeredness, and reverence. So a lot of things happening here in terms of really that push to see yourself in a different light. Like, where have you been maybe selling yourself short? So make sure that you're looking at your self-worth and that you're pushing to be treated fairly and to be in situations that resonate well with you. So no longer accepting, we'll call it substandard situations or things that make you unhappy, because you're realizing your self-worth. And part of that up-leveling is about setting those boundaries and protecting your inner child and pushing towards your highest self. And that's going to create some of that centeredness. And the reverence part, I would say, look at that particularly as it relates to how is your inner child being treated. So those are some of the overall messages for the sign. A couple other things that are happening in the second half of this month. On the 22nd, we have Mars entering Pisces. So Mars is also kind of that Aries energy, that energy of movement, and that's going to have a lot of drive to it. So it's a great time for spiritual pursuits and creative projects, and really a time to trust your gut instincts. And then we also have on the 25th, the Libra Lunar Eclipse. So interesting, the two cards that jumped out, the World and the Two of Cups. So on the 25th, we have the Lunar Libra Eclipse, and that's going to be having a lot of, I'll call it maybe pressure on relationships in terms of committing to those that you have good connections with and taking a look at the ones where you don't have a good connection and kind of making some of those hard decisions about why do I continue to be present and exert energy in relationships that don't feel like good connections anymore. All right, let's go ahead and jump in. We'll take a look at job and career, love and relationship, and life path and mission. And this is for all of the fire signs. And then I'll pull some cards individually for Aries and Leo and Sagittarius. So overall, since the ones that jumped, it's the World and the Two of Cups. This is about closing out of cycles. So again, with the eclipse coming up, that during the eclipse time, you're going to have a full moon, then new moon, then back to full moon. And so the full moon is about closing out cycles. It's about learning lessons. It's about up-leveling. The new moon is about planting seeds for what you want more of in your life. And then it flips right back to the full moon again. So it's kind of challenging you to think about, okay, what do I want to close out? And let's start thinking immediately about what do I want next? And then as you think about what do I want next, what else really needs to go to allow that new seed to grow. And then Two of Cups is about partnership and connection and companionship. So those are some overall messages. I'll put them over here I guess you can't really see them, but they're over there with the crystal card. So job and career. In the recent past, we have our Knight of Swords in reverse. currently sitting in 10 of Cups in reverse energy, with the next level of energy being 8 of Swords in reverse. So from a job or a career standpoint, you've been in this energy of feeling like you've missed some opportunities. Either you didn't jump on things that you wanted to, whether it was a new career, new opportunities at work, or maybe you felt like you were being passed up for some of those opportunities. If it was down to you and one other person at work, were you being kind of skipped over, and maybe some favoritism or whatever was going on at work where you felt like you weren't getting some of those opportunities. And that's leaving you feeling like there's, this disharmony and some feuds going on at work, and a little bit of that resentment. And sometimes the 10 of Cups also has to do with separation. So it's something where it's making you think that maybe this isn't the right place for you. Maybe you need to look at separating from that job or that career. And then the next level of energy coming in after that is having a sense of like freedom and perspective and taking control. So normally when we see this card in the upright, it's about feeling like you're trapped and stuck. Coming in the reverse is kind of the opposite of that, feeling like, okay, I'm going to take control. I'm going to free myself from a situation that doesn't look like it's very fulfilling for me. So we'll get some more clarification for the individual signs, but that's what it's looking like overall for fire signs, is maybe making some changes from the work perspective, like getting out of the situations that aren't feeling good. So even if that's not quitting your job altogether, maybe it's changing up what team you're on, that team is just not a good team for you, or separating from a way that you usually do things at work. All right, next, we're going to take a look at love and relationships. In the recent past, we have the Hanged Man in reverse, currently sitting in the 3 of Swords in reverse energy, and the next level of energy coming in is the Tower in reverse. So with the Hanged Man in reverse, that has that sense of, you've been trying to see things from a different perspective, but you've been stagnating, and it's a sense of just like delays and stalling and indecision. So there's something from a romantic or relationship perspective where it's been stagnating and you don't want to make a decision about it. Maybe it doesn't feel comfortable to make a decision about it, or you're hoping that whatever the situation is just going to go away on its own. But that's leaving you in this sense of like optimism and moving on. Like, you're tired of the delays, you're optimistic that you're going to be able to move on from it, because you've acknowledged that you've been needlessly sacrificing yourself. So the Hanged Man is a self-imposed position, so you can get out of it if you want. And that's kind of that acknowledgement of, I'm done with putting myself in this needless sacrifice. But then the next level of energy coming in with the Tower in reverse, and we'll take a look individually, like with the different signs, but that's about resisting change, and you're delaying the inevitable. So you're sitting currently in this energy of wanting to move on, and like being optimistic about the future, kind of forgiving what's happened in the past, whether it's forgiving yourself, the situation, the other person, but you're still resisting that positive change. You're still trying to keep that tower from falling. If you watch the channel and you watch the daily videos, you might know that one of the decks that I usually use for that is this one. It's this like old time housewives deck, and I love the card that they use for the Tower because it's a Jello mold, and so I really think that goes really well. Oh, here it is. It goes really well with this from a visual perspective when you're trying to think about like the Tower in reverse. I mean, look at how flimsy, if this is a Jello mold that looks like this. If you were trying to hold it together when it's sitting like that, how in the world are you going to keep a Jello mold that's an inverted pyramid like that from falling? You're not. You're resisting letting it fall, even though you know that's going to happen. So that's that energy of the Tower in reverse. So some of this too, we're going to take a look at timing cards as well, kind of sign by sign, and see what some of that looks like. That is the energy for relationships overall. All right, and then now we will take a look at life path and mission. In the recent past, we have the Hierophant, currently sitting in the Five of Cups in reverse, with the next level of energy coming in being the Ace of Wands. So with your life path and mission and kind of that feeling of, okay, I need to figure out what I'm doing with my life. You've been in this kind of like structured, traditional sense of looking at it. This also has to do with like a teacher or a mentor or a guru. So maybe you've been reaching out to a new mentor. Maybe you've become a mentor for somebody else. And then with your Five of Cups in reverse energy, you're currently sitting in this sense of like turning a corner and like finding acceptance and wanting to move on with your life lessons. So you may have been in a traditional situation before because that's kind of what was expected of you. And now as you're starting to learn more from different sources, different teachers and gurus, you're being pushed into more of an energy of, this maybe what I was thinking back here is not in alignment with what my soul feels like my purpose is here. So remember also, North Node is in Aries right now, which is really pushing you. Your North Node is about what is your purpose here? What are you here on this earth to learn? What are your lessons? And with it being in Aries, that's about being unapologetically you. And it's about putting yourself first, but in a healthy way. So instead of running yourself into the ground for everybody else, it's the whole put on your own oxygen mask first type of scenario. And so you're really kind of turning the corner on this traditional model of what you thought life was about and what you thought your mission here was. And you're turning a corner and moving on from that, because the next level coming in is some excitement and some creativity and some new beginnings about, okay, now that I feel like I think I have a better idea what my life path and what my mission is, now I'm excited about it. I want to get to that part. I want to get moving with that. So that is the overall message for fire signs. And now we will start and we'll go sign by sign and then pull the oracle cards as well for each sign. So we will start out with Aries because we're going to be entering Aries season here very soon. So let's take a look, job and career. We have our Ace of Pentacles in reverse, and then we have our Nine of Wands in reverse. So your Ace of Pentacles in reverse is there's a little bit of missed opportunities still. So this is going along with your Knight of Swords in reverse energy of feeling like there's been missed opportunities. And then your Nine of Wands in reverse is about kind of being exhausted. So this situation is sort of exhausting you, but you're looking to move on from that. And so let's see when you kind of gain that freedom or turn that corner with the job when you're ready. So there could be some other planning that's going on. Maybe you're looking at changing jobs, but you just feel like, okay, I need to make some more money first. I need to come up with my next step first. So it looks like it's going to be a premeditated thing. It's not going to be like, oh, all of a sudden you lose your job. It's something you're in control of, and you're going to dictate the timing of when you're ready to leave that. All right. Love and relationship for Aries. A couple more cards. We have our Ace of Cups in reverse, and then we have our Queen of Wands. So here there's this feeling of being unloved in your current situation. And, that's kind of going with this Hanged Man in reverse type of energy, that feeling of like needless sacrifice and just stagnation, like you're really feeling unloved, and that's what's stalling out that relationship. But again, if we look back here on this energy that we had that was coming up at the beginning of the read with the World and the Two of Cups, this cycle is coming through to completion. So 21, the World, that is the end of a cycle. That is, you've successfully learned this lesson. If you were feeling unloved over here, you're learning that lesson of how to move on from that and when to put yourself first. Because remember, with that North Node in Aries, it's about self-love and standing in your truth and being unapologetically you. And if that isn't working for you, then that's the sense of moving on. So that you can bring in this Two of Cups energy, which is that companionship and partnership and feeling like you're connected. And that's going with your Queen of Wands over here, which is that joy and courage and confidence. Like you want to be able to sit in this happy energy, not this, you know, bad energy that's over here. And that's also coming in with your self-worth as well, and up leveling, that you deserve better than this situation where you're feeling unloved and it's just kind of like there. But the interesting thing is you're kind of resisting this positive change. So it's like you've acknowledged that that's, you know, you've acknowledged that things need to change and things need to be different, but you haven't actually moved on that yet. So let's take a look at the romance oracle and see if there's any insight as to what is going on there. This could be the one. You've already met the romantic partner that you seek. So if this is a situation where you're feeling unloved and you're looking at something different and you want to move on from that, you're moving on to somebody that you've already met that you think might be the one, and that's contrasting with the experience that you're having here where you're feeling unloved. So let's take a look at the timing perspective of the Tower. So it's almost like when all this weaves together is you want to be able to joyfully and courageously step into this new relationship, but you're kind of afraid to let this other one fall, you know, let that other part go away. So it looks like more than a year out for that Tower to totally fully fall. So let's take a look then at, so that's a little bit of a longer timing, and some of it too, and this is true with any tarot reads, when you're looking at future energies, it's not necessarily that things are set in stone. It's that if you maintain the current energetic state, that's how things look. So if you see that and you say, oh, this is going to be a year, well, then you need to look at things like your truth and your self-worth and up leveling. And what is your truth? If you're really truly unhappy there, what can you do to influence that? All right, down here on life path and mission, let's see what all messages are coming through here for Aries. We have Justice and we have the Four of Wands in reverse. So the Justice card, that's about finding that harmony and that balance. And, you know, sometimes it has to do with things like contracts or legal situations. So maybe you're looking at starting a new business. Then you also have your Four of Wands in reverse. So a couple of things there. If you're on a twin flame journey, this is a twin flame card because it's 1111, whether it's upright or reversed. In the reverse, though, the other part of that meaning is that your life path, where you feel like you're going and where you want to go, is maybe going to create some ripples in in your family. And you might feel like you're out on your own and that you don't necessarily have their support, which might lead you to a sense of self-doubt. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's not the right place for you, because some of it too, when you're looking at up leveling and standing in your truth, if that's where you feel that you're supposed to be, it's a matter of how do you integrate that into your family life. Maybe your parents don't agree with it. Maybe your sister thinks that you're crazy. But how do you navigate that, and how do you remain true to yourself and what you feel your calling is, versus playing small to make other people feel more comfortable. So we do have Surrender coming up as one of the cards. And then, you know, and I had pulled the romance one because obviously that would go on the romance line. Then I'll pull the other cards here. So we have Surrender, which is I can release my need to control. And then we also have Take Time to Breathe Out. So some of it, as you're looking at, okay, energetically, what do we have here? You know, take some time, take some space to figure out what direction you want to go and how you want to approach things. So if there's a sense of moving on at work, and there's a sense that there's going to be changes in your relationship, and that potentially the path you're being drawn towards maybe has a little bit of friction that you need to plan for, it's kind of that whole thing of, okay, let's take some time out and let's breathe. Which area do I want to look at first? And maybe looking at one area would help move things along with the other. So if it's the relationship that you're trying to hold together, are you holding it together because financially you're afraid that if the relationship goes away, there's going to be financial impact, and that's going to impact your ability on your job and this step, but similarly, if this is a twin flame that's involved in your life path and mission, if you can take care of maybe whatever this scenario is, maybe the other person could help. So I think it's going to take a little bit more time out, a little bit more breathing, to figure out what exactly your next steps are. And as a reminder, with the eclipse, like I talked about at the beginning, there is that sense of overlap where you have something coming to an end and you have a new beginning at the same time because of the eclipse. So it could be that this is ending at the same time this new one is starting. It could be this job is ending at the same time this new life path is starting. So take that however it resonates with you. But that is for Aries. So I hope that you found this message to be helpful. And as always, take only what resonates and leave the rest. And stay tuned for additional videos and some of those special eclipse ones. So make sure you hit subscribe and notification if you want to be alerted as to when those special videos are posting. Otherwise, I wish you peace and joy along your journey. All right. Now let's move on to Leo. So we're going to pull some cards here for Leo and see what all additional messages want to come through for you. All right, here we go, Leo. And with jobs and careers, we have our Eight of Cups, and then we have our Page of Swords in reverse. So with your Eight of Cups, you also have this sense of letting things go. So this is going to be along here in terms of moving on and breaking free from feeling like you're trapped. And then with your Page of Swords in reverse, this is like you feel like you've been manipulated, and that some of those missed opportunities are a result of you being manipulated. So with this, from a timing perspective, when it's looking at moving on and kind of letting go from a job standpoint, let's see timing-wise what that looks like. It's already in motion. So it looks like you're already starting to make some of those changes, or at least seriously thinking about it and contemplating what direction you might want to go. So that looks good. Now let's take a look at love and relationships. And for Leo, we have our Eight of Swords in reverse, and then we also have our Six of Pentacles in reverse. So again, it's the sense of moving on, because that's the Eight of Swords in reverse in that deck. And then with our Six of Pentacles in reverse, that's a little bit of like this dishonest energy. So it's almost kind of like that you're maybe holding this tower together from falling, but it's like it's out of maybe selfish reasons. Like you don't want to, if it's a relationship, it's like you don't want to leave because if it's a divorce, like you don't want to have to pay them alimony or child support. So there is a sense of, like some selfishness that's coming, and that's what's holding that tower from falling, but that ultimately you are going to end up moving on and breaking free. So let's pull a romance card here and see what we've got. Children. Your love life is being affected by children. So that's what you're doing in terms of trying to hold that situation together, is because there's children in place, or there's children in play within that relationship. And so you're trying to do what you think is best for the children. But at some point, it looks like it's coming to a head, because it looks like you are looking to move on. So let's pull a timing card and see what the timing looks like on that. Summer. So that might be coming up quickly, and something to keep in mind. So if you were trying to maintain harmony and balance at home, but it's leaving you feeling unloved and like, oh my gosh, I just have to get out of this. Remember the things, specifically if there's children involved, this ascended master with this truth, self-worth, and up-leveling, remember that you're modeling that for your children as well. So even if it's painful and you don't want to go through it, if you're doing it because you understand your self-worth, you understand that this is not in your highest good, you're modeling that, and you're showing your children that. So for what it's worth, if that helps through the process. All right, and then let's take a look at life path and mission for Leos. And those were the 2 cards that jumped. Oh, actually, there's 3 cards in there. So we have our 10 of Swords, Devil, and the Sun in reverse. So this is there's this creativity and this excitement that wants to come in, but unfortunately, you thought that you were turning the corner, but you're running into some pretty strong energy. So 10 of Swords is a lot of like betrayal and exhaustion, and the Devil energy is anything that's trying to pull you off your life path. So it's like you kind of you thought you were figuring out where you needed to go, and then something else is pulling you off that path. And also with the Sun in reverse is like pessimism, like you're not seeing the blessings coming through. You don't have that sense of success or optimism or joy. So this is a really tough as it pertains to your life path and mission. Let's take a look at some oracle cards and see if there's anything else that comes through with that. Communication is key. And then let's take a look at the soul journey one. Let's see what we have coming through. Denial. I acknowledge my fear, but I replace it with the insight of awareness. So there could be some denial there in terms of what's going on, since this does have to do with betrayal and feeling defeated. It could be that as you start to have these conversations with your family, because remember, it kind of had that sense of that you were in a different path, and kind of coming to that realization that maybe that path that I thought I was on doesn't really serve me, and then feeling like if you're trying to get off that path, that there's other people that are trying to keep you there. So if it's I'll just pick an example. If part of your path is you feel like you want to help people, so maybe you want to be a therapist or a counselor, but everybody in your family, they're all lawyers, and there was the plan that you were supposed to be a lawyer and they were going to pass the business down to you and you were going to be a partner, and you could feel like maybe things are being jeopardized because of the fact that you're trying to break out and go on a different path. Let's take a look and see, and we'll pull from this deck and see if there's any other messages or advice in terms of life path and mission for Leos, since that looks like it could be a little frustrating. Knight of Wands and Justice in reverse. So the Knight of Wands is that courageous energy, or like that adventurous and being fearless and confident. And then, there is a sense also of avoiding responsibilities, like with Justice in reverse, and broken promises and like some unfairness to it. So some of it is you might feel like, okay, I don't want to be stuck in this devil energy. I don't want to keep getting pulled into whatever, my family or my friends or whatever the traditional thoughts are about what I should do with my life. I want to do my own thing. And it looks like there's, kind of courageously stepping out and doing something different. So let's take a look at timing of when it looks like that might be the case. Once you can stand on your own 2 feet. So if you are, maybe it's something where your family provides you with a lot of resources, whether it's money, whether it's cars, whether it's home, and you feel like, okay, I can't fight back against them because I could lose it all. So some of this is a matter of standing on your own 2 feet. So maybe you change your job, change some factors up here to be able to build up that cushion so that you can make a change. But I hope that you found this to be helpful, Leo, and as always, take only what resonates and leave the rest behind. And as I mentioned at the beginning, there are some other new videos that are going to be posting soon, so make sure you hit subscribe and notification if you would like to be alerted to those. Otherwise, I wish you peace and joy along your journey. All right, now we are on to Sagittarius. So Sagittarius, let's see what other messages want to come through for you. And we will start with job and career. We've got the Empress, and we've got the 7 of Swords in reverse. So there's a little bit of like some confession that's coming through, and maybe if you were being passed up for different opportunities, maybe you get some insight, like somebody at work confesses as to why you were passed over. This Empress energy is really this like creative, abundant, fertile, flowing energy. So So with this confession, that might be enough maybe for you to change things at work and to feel like you're breaking free from whatever shackles you felt like you had before. So whatever that confession is, it feels like it's either going to be enough to make you say, "Oh, that's why I was getting passed over. Okay, we're remedying that. It's fine." Or it's going to be enough of something like, "Okay, there's enough nepotism going on at this job. I'm never going to get to where I want to be, so I'm breaking free and I'm starting something new." But the Empress energy, it's really that abundant, fertile, flowing, creative type of energy. So it looks like something really beautiful is going to be coming from that. So let's take a timing card to see what that might look like for you after a massive change. So it seems like Sagittarius for you, that maybe it is that you're actually leaving that job, that you realize whatever that confession was, that's kind of a, nah, that's a deal breaker. I think I'm done. And on to something else. And once you make the massive change, then that you're able to sit in that Empress energy. All right, love and relationships. We have our 10 of Cups, and we have our Page of Wands in reverse. So the 10 of Cups, that is that beautiful, harmonious, happy energy. Like for some readers, they have the 10 of Cups as like twin flame union, like that sort of energy. And then with your Page of Wands in reverse, this is kind of this dull and indecisive. So it's like you figured out, and it's kind of directionless. So you figured out you want to move on, but it kind of left you feeling. So if you're moving on, it might be that you're moving on because there is somebody else in the picture, and you know that there's a better connection there. So let's pull one of these cards, and then we'll see if we need to pull some other ones as well. Getting to know each other. As you reveal your innermost selves to each other, your bond deepens, and keep an open mind. Your soulmate may differ from your usual type and expectation. So, this moving on, it may not be that there's another person. It may just be the idea of this other person and the idea of this happiness, and you saying, you know what, this is not what I envisioned for my life. And kind of the idea of wanting to be totally open and transparent with the person that you're with. But let's see if there's anything else that wants to come through about this Tower in reverse. All right. It's about stability. So the Four of Pentacles is about like security and materialism. And, so if you have a stable home, other than the lack of love or feeling unappreciated, if everything else is stable, it's kind of that sense of, oh, I can't do anything different because it's going to cause issues. But then on the other side of it, it looks like there's this happiness, this desire to move on because you feel like there's this happiness out there for you. So that's going to be something where you're going to have to balance, what is this worth to you versus seeking something that's actually going to make you happy. And remember, with these original cards, this harmony and centeredness and getting more time meditating, but really with this, your truth, your self-worth, and your up-leveling. So are you standing in your own truth? Are you properly evaluating your self-worth, or are you letting other people dictate that for you? Because from the very beginning of the read, we had this where we had the World card came out and our Two of Cups. So this is the ending of a cycle, like this Tower, like that it needs to come down because there's this happiness and this abundance and collaboration and partnership that wants to come in, but it can't come in if there's this other structure still in place. All right, let's take a look at life, path, and mission. The Tower and Death in reverse. So with Death in reverse and this card right here, this is like you're resisting change and you're kind of lacking movement, and there's a sense of loss, but you're not wanting to let this inevitable change come in. But there's a lot of pressure here, with the Tower coming up, that something needs to change because this isn't part of your life path. And some of it, it could be with this heavy of energy, it could be that these towers are related. Like maybe you thought that your life path was something else. And as you're starting to realize, hey, wait a second, maybe that's not what my life path is. And you're turning the corner and starting to realize this, you realize that part of acknowledging what your true life path is, if this is not consistent with it, this has to fall in order to put you in alignment with what your actual life path and mission is. So let's take a look at some other oracle cards and see if that gives any additional insight. So balance spirituality and practicality, and that's full moon in Pisces, and then look at the bigger picture, full moon in Sagittarius. So this is kind of challenging you that, yes, there's a practical element here and you have your spiritual side. So yes, you may not be able to go, guns blazing in the spiritual direction because there are practical things to consider, but on the same token, don't let yourself fall so far on the practicality side that you're cutting off your spiritual nature. And look at the bigger picture. So even though something might seem like it's this huge to do now, over the course of this lifetime, and if you think about your existence as multiple lifetimes and you're here to learn lessons, what is the bigger picture lesson trying to come through? Empathy. I'm open to seeing both sides of a situation. So especially with the Hanged Man, albeit in reverse, that is about seeing things from a different standpoint, seeing things from a different perspective. So yes, do make sure you're looking at it from all sides, but the ending message here for you, Sagittarius, is make sure that you're focused on what is your truth. What is your sense of self-worth? And are you up-leveling, or are you letting yourself just kind of stagnate and avoid making changes? So I hope that you found today's message to be helpful for you for the second half of the month. And if so, I would encourage you to like the video and then subscribe and notification bell if you want to be alerted as to when these other new videos are going to be posting, particularly around eclipse season. So I wish you peace and joy along your journey. Until next time.